today I want to interview Stephanie. Me and Porter want to interview Stephanie and talk about how to pre-sell your way to $8,600 per month. Porter is also, just so you guys know, just to have an idea of why I have him on here. He's making is it 10 now, Porter?
Yeah, 10-6.
I asked you that and making sure you didn't cancel, seeing if you got any other deals. So he's at 10.6, $10,600 per month. I think 100% of those are also pre-sales.
Yep.
Okay. So I wanted to have these two on. We're going to be interviewing Stephanie though, but guys, the reason why I wanted to interview Stephanie is I love interviewing people that I've worked with, that I've literally watched start from zero, knowing nothing about the business, and then they persevere their way to where they're absolutely crushing it. They've got momentum on their side, and that's exactly what we've got here with Stephanie. So I looked this up before the interview, Stephanie. You started working with me, or you started, I guess, let's just say you started pre-selling, or you started focusing on the sales piece of this business on May 31st, 2024. So let's call it June 1st. So it's been 10 months, 9 months?
Not even.
Not even that. Okay, something like that. And the interesting thing about Stephanie, and I'm excited to really get to hear her story, but she didn't just sling 5 deals in the first week. If I remember correctly from the post and from everything else, like there was a little bit of a learning curve and there was some setbacks and stuff like that. So am I getting that right, or am I confusing this story with somebody else's?
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I'm not a fronter. I didn't crush it out of the gate. I was a late bloomer. So, I mean, I'm gunning for you, Porter, now. Like I'm going to be into 5 figures and I'm gunning for you, Papa. But
hey,
yeah,
once you pass Porter, I think there needs to be you send me a message. We'll do some kind of a little some little spiff for you, because I can't, and I hope you do a post just roasting Porter.
Hey, I got one cooking, Stephanie, this week.
Dude, I have 4 cooking.
Oh,
Yeah, Stephanie's got 4 cooking, but I don't know, man.
Dude, they're in the air fryer. They're not in the slow cooker. Like I'm telling you, like what I love about pre-sale, like I call it, like pre-sale is a microwave. I'm like, screw, like no offense to Shivy and all the organic people out there. God bless you. But I am not into like that. I call that the kimchi like fermentation method. I'm like, I'm too freaking impatient.
No,
I'm all,
and because I'll play devil's advocate, I think that a really healthy business, you probably have a combination of both. So maybe what we should do because there might be some people that watch us that are on later that they're like, what the heck is pre-sell? What are you guys talking about? I'm sure a lot of people do know what that is, but let me have Porter. Porter, explain what we mean, because obviously everybody knows the traditional method. You pick a city, you pick a niche, you build a website, you start doing SEO, it ranks, then you start worrying about selling it. Porter, really quick, why don't you just explain in 10 seconds what it is that we do when we talk about pre-selling?
so basically, instead of rank and rent, it's rent then rank. So build a one-pager, run Google Ads, use the leads that we get, sell them to a business owner, and then as soon as you collect credit card, go in and build it out.
So you're flipping the model completely on its head. Stephanie, anything you want to add to that definition or that description?
no. I mean, I just 100% Porter nailed it. I mean, it's just a matter of you're getting the money up front, so then that you then can backfill it and do all the other fun stuff on the back end. But you have a business owner who's paying you, and then you can just lock and load on to the next one.
You know what else is cool, or what I was thinking about in, like, because I always like to use an analogy or think about it as like regular real estate, but you know, with if you were to build apartments, let's say, of course there's people out there that have a bunch of money. They've done it for so long. They know what a good piece of land looks like. They know the right location. They know what it should cost per square foot, all this stuff. They get investors, they put these projects together, and then they start selling them, right? But there's also people in like Dubai, for example, where these big companies, Emar, I think it's called Damac, these guys go in, they have the plan, then they start pre-selling. They bring you in, they show you their showroom, they say, hey, we're going to do this plan for you. You're actually going to pay for this right now, and you're going to help us build it. We're going to get you a lower rate, but by the time this thing's built, it's going to be worth $50,000 more, and you're going to have an apartment or a space in this huge complex that you're going to own. And so they literally have it self-funded by investors, by people like me and you. So it's the exact same thing, guys. Instead of us going and putting our own money, our own effort, our own risk, we're literally going and saying, hey, Mr. Business Owner, I need you to fund the project that I'm going to own. And what do you think? And it sounds crazy if you think about it in like a real estate context, because in the real estate example, the customer or the business owner would own the property. But in this example, we own the property even though they fund it. So
No, I
anyway,
like that. I want to jump in. Like the thing, like that was a little bit convoluted for my pea brain because I'm back in the US. But for like in terms of real estate, I love that because years ago, I'm down in Vegas. I know you're up a little north, but they had all these tract homes, right? And so they have phases, and they roll them out in phases. And if you buy in phase one, by the time they're selling phase seven, like they've already increased in price to exactly. What we're doing is kind of like we're selling out of a trailer. They haven't even built one yet. So you're like, people are buying off plans, like they don't see it. And so that developer is taking all those deposits and those sales and using that money to build out everything. Or they're building out either that development, or they're using it to buy another parcel, then to chop it up and do the same thing. So it's using it's OPM, it's other people's money.
That's a great term. OPM, other people's money. The only difference between the examples that we're using and this is that we're actually owning the property, whereas in those examples, the person paying the money would own the property. We also get to own control and keep the property that we can then go and sell eventually and all this other stuff. So super exciting. The cool part about it, guys, is that if you guys are in this program and you guys are in Unemployable, you guys are in the right place. You have the fundamentals down pat. Shiv's the best in the game when it comes to teaching all things SEO, backlinks, content, building a site, ranking a site. And then what I do is I like to show people how to do it fast. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me just share my 2 goals for this interview. Number 1 is I want to inspire and motivate you guys that if you'll stay the course, that you are in the right place and you will find success, because you're going to see that didn't happen overnight for either of these 2 people. And then I want to at least give you one actionable takeaway that you can take this week and implement and push it into your business to move the needle in the right direction. Okay. So, here's the reason though, like, Nick, why are you doing this? Why are you coming to this group? Well, the reason why, guys, is that I did this exactly like you guys are doing it. I did the rank, then the rent. It did work. I got deals, but I could never scale. I could never get to the numbers I wanted. Money that excited me was 100,000 a month. And I started doing the projections, and it just never made sense for me to go build out 100 websites to then try and scale. And so as soon as I figured out pre-selling, it unlocked 2 things that were constraining me. Number 1 is time. Number 2 is money, right? Because now I use other people's money, like Stephanie said, OPM, and I don't have to wait 6 months for a website to rank. So I've got some questions I want to ask Stephanie, and then I'll let you guys ask any questions you have. Porter, I'm probably going to ask you some. Porter, if you have questions for Stephanie, but I just want to run through these, and we'll keep this nice and tight, and hopefully there's at least one person that we help on this live, and then hopefully a bunch of other people will see it. Okay, does that sound fair?
Cool.
Amazing. Okay. Okay. Real quick, because I don't know if anyone knows the full story, but let's just talk before this whole world of digital real estate. What were you doing for work?
The 1 year before I started this, I worked for a 501c3, which in the US, that's a nonprofit.
Yep.
I was a salaried employee for $40,000 a year. And I taught elementary school kids how to grow fruits and vegetables and plant gardens.
Interesting.
I did that for 1 year. I did that for 1 year because I had just moved back to the United States. For the 13 years prior to that, I was living in Europe and New Zealand. And so but right before that, like during COVID and everything, I was in Greece, and I ran for 10 years, I ran a vegan cooking school.
Okay.
It's too much like rank and rent.
Yeah.
Kidding. No, but I've always been in sales. And so I love planting. I love food. I love landscaping. And I love teaching. And so I was on my feet. And then when I came back to the US, and I had to move back to the US because my parents are old, and I had to come back to see them. Otherwise I would still be in Europe. So I came.
Okay, hold on. So where are you at right now? What city?
Vegas.
Okay, that's what I thought that, and I was thinking, and you just really referenced Vegas, but for some reason, anyway. So okay, good old Vegas. By the way, real quick, not to detract, but
Dude, it's friggin' raining today. It's raining.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're suffering as well.
All day, like freaking, like, yeah. I was like, "Where's my raincoat?" Yeah.
Yeah, Porter, is it snowing in Parowan?
Tonight it's supposed to snow a couple inches tonight, so
Well, you guys need it, but keep it over there. We
Aren't you
don't.
in St. George, Nick?
I'm in St. George, but Porter's like an hour north.
I
So
know, it's not that far. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's raining here, but it's gonna snow there because it changes a lot, the temperature of that, just
Yeah, I
that
have
one.
all my besties are up. They all go up. They're up at Duck Creek.
Oh,
They
okay. Yeah. That's gonna be cold in Duck Creek for sure. And
yeah,
if you're
and
from there, you say Duck Creek, not Duck Creek. Let's get the right
okay,
pronunciation.
okay. All right. Guess what? I know it's hurricane and not hurricane. I
Yeah,
got
okay.
hurricane. I got it. I got it. I got it.
You know the area.
I
So
know.
okay. So you were doing right a year before you're working for a nonprofit and now you're doing this. So in all of your previous years when you were in Europe, did you ever have any sales experience, tech experience, anything like that?
Okay, so I have less than no tech experience. Like I would tell people I'm like I can't even spell IT.
That's actually kind of a funny joke. I don't usually.
Like literally like I had people I thought about it today. The last time I used Excel was when I came to UNLV in 1991 for graduate school.
That
Like
was,
I
by the way,
I
that was the year I was born, and they were really good that year too.
did the running rebel dude like F Duke, by the way. Like I bleed red. I'm a running rebel all through and through. F Duke.
I
Yep.
tell you.
Anyway, yes. So no, have like I can't stand IT. I always outsourced it. I have a back before I had a cooking school. I have a background in I was a recruiter. I was a headhunter. I have a background in selling mortgages. Like I've always been in sales.
So the
I'm a
sales
very
problem was nothing for you, but the tech.
yeah.
Okay, this isn't a question I had, but how is selling this different than selling mortgages or anything else that you've sold?
Well, it's a lot easier
I feel
because because it's the cost. It's your Costco thing, right? Because you give them free samples. Like I can't sample you on a freaking mortgage.
I so agree with that.
Like like okay, so now that like for those who are like kind of high, it's a little high level here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. But you don't have a lead magnet in mortgages really. Like what am I going to do for you? Like okay, I can run a free credit report for you.
Yeah, but I can't
Well,
I can't let you feel how it is to be in the new
no, I
house.
can't. I'm not going to do like a little demo closing. Like doing a signing. I mean, like you got to cut. There's a little more faith. You're betting on the come. So in terms of my cooking school, people were like, I would sell these big giant packages, and they're like, I was like, my biggest package was like, $7,000 to come train with me in Europe. And so I taught in English, even though we were in Spain and Greece, but we taught in English because it's an international language. So I was selling to people from India and Canada and Australia. So they had to buy their ticket to come stay with me for a month. And then they had to pay me $7,000. And then they had to also put themselves up in a hotel or Airbnb for 7 weeks or whatever. So it was it was high ticket sales. And they were like, "How do I know you're any good?" I'm like, "Well, you don't, but they could watch videos. I could like here's an example, but so I could do a little bit of, free sampling, but you don't know. But what we're doing right now with the way you do the pre-sales, like we're giving them sample leads, they're the exact same thing. It's not a scaled down, it's not an abridged version, it's the exact same thing. As long as you make sure you give them good leads. I mean, you don't want to give them scrub leads, you cherry pick your own leads and then you send them to the BO.
100%. From somebody I sold, of course, a couple different things, but selling alarm systems compared to this, I always tell people this is so like not that it's easy per se because it's obviously takes some work and some skill and you don't, by the way, just so you know, you don't need sales experience to do this. Porter had zero sales experience. The only thing he ever did in terms of work was worked on the farm. For me, I sold door to door and selling this. I sit there and I'm like, people are complaining about picking up the phone. I'm like, look, you don't have to knock on a door. You don't have to go in the sun or under the rain. You don't have to get the door slammed on you, a gun pulled on you, any of this kind of crazy stuff. You get to pick up the phone. And not only do you get to do it from the comfort of your home, but you get to call and say, do you want something free that you're already paying for? I mean, how hard of a sale? That's the initial sale. And then you're into the actual sales process. So, Porter, for you on this note, how difficult was it for you from somebody that had no sales experience jumping in and trying to do sales?
The first couple were definitely a little bit uncomfortable, I would say. I think I remember I answered the first one, or I called the first business owner, and I think I like totally like diarrhea of the mouth, just everything. He asked me a question, I answered it. So like they definitely go smooth, but It definitely helps when you have a structure that's laid out for you, something that you can follow and, have a process. But I mean, it definitely was a lot easier than I had anticipated. I always tell people the business model is very simple, but it's not easy. It still requires work. It's not going to be like this quick, easy cash, but like it's a lot easier in a lot of things.
Okay,
But
let's keep
I
going.
like what
Go ahead, go ahead,
Porter,
go
like
ahead.
what you said, like the first time you do anything, you suck. I mean, whether it be bake a cake or paint a billboard, whatever you do, like the first time you do anything, it's not your best one. I mean, the first time I'm sure Nick, you did like a live. I'm sure, like look at your lives and your content and your courses now versus your very first one. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it is, your first one is never your best, but you got to start somewhere.
Yep, great point. Really good point. Okay, so this is a question. I'm not looking for any specific answer. I legitimately want to know because I remember for me how it felt, but like just from comparing it to when you were at zero, you're starting this business, you're cutting your teeth, you're not really sure what you're doing, and now I'm gonna ask you and then Porter, Stephanie, you're making 8,600 bucks a month. Obviously, that's top line, but how does it feel knowing, hey, this actually works and I can do this, and the sky's the limit? Like, does that get you excited? Does that get you overwhelmed? Does it make you anxious that you should be doing more? Like, well, how do you feel knowing, hey, I've made it 8,600 a month, but like, how do you feel?
I think, like you said in a lot of your videos, like, you just got to get one underneath your belt. And then, even after I did one, I kind of laughed because I watched so many of your videos. I mean, so many. I mean, like literally, no offense, I kind of got sick of watching you. I mean, I
Good.
got it. Yeah, I was like, oh, like, and it got to the point where like, oh, is it like blonde Nick or is it brown Nick? Is it bearded Nick or is it not Nick? I'm like, so, but I mean, I watched tons and tons of content and, just to get to really get it dialed in while I was going through your content and getting going. And I believed everything you said. I didn't think you were just blowing smoke, but and I was like, oh yeah, I want to feel that too. And um, even though I did one, I still even not that I had. I'm like, okay, I knew I could do it before, and then after I did it, I knew I could do it. But then I knew that okay, now you just go do more. And again, like my first one wasn't the best. I now was debriefing or, troubleshooting things I did wrong in the first one. And you just get better. You tweak it and you find out what works for you. So was it overwhelming? No. Do I feel like I should be working? I think every single person in your bit. What I love about this business is every single person can do their version of it. Because you do have a lot of people who are doing like I'm not one of them, but I know like you asked the other day in the group, you're like, who's still doing a 9 to 5 and then is slamming deals on the side. I'm not doing it. Like this is all I do full time. I knew for me, like this is the bandwidth that I had and the where I am in my life, I needed to do this full time. So, I wanted to speed it up, but that's not right for everybody, but everybody can do it. I think the important thing though is for people who are going to do it on the side. Cause like, I know you've like your blind guy, people who don't speak English as a first language guy. You have like, your guy with, people with kids and this and that. Can anybody do it? Absolutely. Is it more difficult with all those other things on your plate? Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it undoable? No. So it's just a matter of keeping your priorities straight and
Yeah.
and make and that's it. And so and all I did was reverse engineered, where I wanted to be. Like you have when you bring people in, the first thing you have us do, and once we get into your paid group, is to do our map. You just got to do your map. And like I call the map the reverse engineer. It's like, okay, where do you want to be? Okay, well, if you know where you want to be, then now it's like that's the end. Like if you put on Google Maps, like that's the end point, but you know where you are now. Now you got to reverse engineer it and work backwards and put in all the steps because that's what people get overwhelmed. Like, I mean, okay, I think most people do, but I mean, I can say I do. And the way to not get overwhelmed is that old adage, like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you break it down into baby steps and you check stuff off and you feel good. And then, just landing your first deal is like checking a big step off. I mean, it feels really good. And then you just go to the next one and, and you just keep on moving, get momentum.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I still remember, guys, my very first deal that I remember the first dollar I made online, and I remember the first pre-sale deal that I did. It was back in 2020. I'm not going to tell you guys the whole story. And by the way, Ford, I'm coming to ask you how you felt in your first deal. So zip your lip for a second, bud. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna ask him. Don't worry. But I remember it was like this idea of, I think we can pre-sell. I don't know if we can. And we did a test. We had a site. Actually, at this time, I was still building organically first. So I had a site that was generating a couple leads, ran some ads to it, did kind of a version of my process that I teach now, but it wasn't perfect. I got in the closing call and it was the easiest close I ever did. And I remember getting off, holding the credit card digits. I wasn't even expecting the deal. I had to write down the credit card on a piece of paper, and I was like, first of all, I was shocked. Second of all, I ran the card, and then all of a sudden my mind was like just blown. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could make any amount of money possible because now I can do this without waiting for it to rank. It was like it just clicked, and I was like, okay, this is the key. This is that one missing piece that I think the model was missing. So Porter, without further ado, since Ford's raising his hand in his own way, wanting to tell us how did you feel? How do you feel at $10,600 a month, never having run your own business, never having really worked any other job besides on the farm, and now you're renting simple websites to local business owners and basically doing sales to do that without having any experience? How did that feel?
It honestly gives you a lot of confidence, and just like knowing that like I can still do this while doing something that I love. So like if anything, it's allowed me to be more confident in myself that I can support a family, myself, go and do and be who I want to be without having to, you know, do a 9 to 5 or work some other job. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a weird thing, but it's like a mental thing too. Like the money is great, but what it does to be able to know that you can always make more money and that the sky's the limit, it's just like it makes you want to always do more because you're around people that are doing so much more than you. But dude, it's the greatest feeling.
Yeah,
It feels
it
so good.
gives you a ton of confidence. I've seen the thing I love most is when I see people that start at zero and then I see them when they've made their first deal or 5K, 10K, is their confidence is night and day. And that's really fun for me. So, okay, let's keep going. Stephanie, was there a moment or time that you almost gave up or thought about quitting? Be honest. And if so, how'd you get through?
I never thought about quitting because I didn't give myself an out.
I
Like,
I,
I mean,
I assumed that was going to be your answer, by the way. So but I keep going. I want to hear the rest of it.
I like, but I will tell you, did I scream? Did I yell? Did I cry? Did I have sleepless nights? Did I want to freaking punch like you and other people? Absolutely.
The nearest
So,
baby. No, I'm kidding.
so like,
Just
so
kidding,
was
Ford.
I, so don't like, believe me, this is like not, it's not all a bed of roses. Like, it's like, oh, golf's easy. All you do is you just hit this ball in this little hole. Like, well, yeah, go talk to, like, I have a friend who's a big, like, I know you play golf, Nick. I have a friend who plays golf and like, he never swears, never, ever, ever swears. He's the most mild mannered, like, guy. And like, I'd be like, hey, Mike, how's it going? I'm like, hey, how was golf today? And he's like, F golf. Like literally, he was like "F golf. Like that's the only time he swears is when he talks about golf. So, it's simple, but it's not easy. So,
Like that.
how did I get through it? I literally said, and it was actually somebody in your group. I think it was Levi that was helping me. Like, and I was talking to him, and Levi's one of your students down in Australia. And I'm like, Levi, this freaking due diligence is like in volume this. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, Mango's this. I'm like in SEMrush assholes and blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, like, I'm not afraid to, like, I'm like, I know I might sound like a sailor. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, what the heck? And then at the end of the day, he was like, he's like, it was interesting because he literally said to me, he's like, you know what, Stephanie? He said, and I was worried about going into cities where there were other lead gen people. And he's like, look, I'm not afraid of that. I'm like, really? Why? And he said, because I know I can outlive them, or I know. He's like, I have the strength and fortitude and acuity and knowledge and everything. He's like, I'm not afraid of them. And I went, huh. I mean, granted, he had years experience than I did, but I went, oh, okay. Well, I'm like, well, that makes sense. And then I can't answer this. I don't know what happened, Nick, but I swear to you that what happened was I just had an aha moment. And I don't know whether it was from one of your videos, like where you actually said it, or whether or not I got the feeling. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I had this feeling, this thought, and then I had the feeling. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this work. I just know it's gonna work. And that was it. And then I never deviated from that. So no matter what, I'm like, okay, what I did last week and last month, that isn't working. And I'm telling, like, I make changes a lot. And I made changes this week, and big changes. And I'll talk to you about them in a little bit if you want. But I mean, I'm constantly reevaluating and assessing, because all I feel is like when I'm doing things that aren't working, that's data. And then I'm like, if I'm doing stuff that I know isn't working, then stop it.
Yep.
That's it.
I like that. Yeah. I don't even have anything to add. I could say something, but it would be the exact same thing that you said in my own way. So let's just leave it and move on. Next question I have, and this is going to be specifically for you, Stephanie, is why did you decide to start pre-selling versus just waiting for websites to rank, doing the traditional way?
Time. I'm impatient. I'm not willing to wait. Dude, I like, again, like, look, I think the organic way is a great play. I think it's super for, like, for the right person who's patient and wants, and a person who loves to be sitting behind the computer and loves doing that, like, that, like, more of the SEO and the ranking and this and that, and wants to just, like, like, they're the pressure cooker people. Oh, let me set it and forget it. No, I want it now. I want it now. I want the microwave version. Air fryer. I want it now. I don't have time. Like, it's like in or out. Like, I tell people, I'm like, listen, I tell my BOs, I'm like, look, this is not rocket science. Like, we are not building, like, I'm not a brain surgeon and you are not a rocket scientist. Like, I laid it out. This is what it is. That's why I don't do any of those I call them TOs. No, think it over. Like, no, none of that bizzo. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you know it, right now. And I don't hit them this hard. But I will say this about whoever's watching, by the way, I want to back up and I do want to share this because I know I sound like a royal. I know I come across strong now, but I will tell you when I on the other side, when I first saw your videos, Nick, like I had seen your stuff and when I first was just learning about the rank and rent industry, because I didn't know about it. I knew I wanted to work online. I just didn't know in what venue because I knew I had to do something that was online and I really wanted something that had recurring revenue. And so before, like for a hot minute, I was doing credit card sales, big merchant services, because that has residuals. I didn't want to do insurance that has residuals. I didn't want to be a stockbroker. Like I hate the stock. I hate the market. I didn't want to get licensed in Series 7, blah, 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 I didn't want to go that route, but I wanted to have something where there was recurring revenue. I didn't want to sell high ticket sales because those are one hit wonders. I don't want it to be like one and then done. So this really ticked all my boxes. But when I first looked at your stuff, I mean, I saw your stuff and with your strong personality, I was a little taken back and I knew who you were. I saw you. I'm like, wow, this kid's intense. It took me a while. Everybody has their own process. It took me a while to warm up, and I'm like, it wasn't until I got in and learned the model, and then I watched. There's that guy? What's his name? Like James Dooley, like the guy over in the UK. Like I was watching all his. Do you know him?
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I've heard that name. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he has like he basically he's like just crushing it in the UK. Like he has like he's like his own rate A refs, AH refs, whatever. He's like crushing it over there. But I'm like, and I was like, wow, like so many people from all different walks of life are killing it. And I'm like, oh, it all makes sense. And every single person in my real life, my family and friends, when I would tell them about this industry, they were like, I'm like, A, did you ever hear about it? No. So that means like, it's not saturated. I'm like, but B, I'm like, does that make sense to you? And they're like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So then fast forward, then, I just got to the point where I knew this was no matter what, it was going to work. I didn't know how. It's like a combination of the safe, it's like Squid Games. Like, like you don't know which combination is going to work. I just knew it was going to work. I didn't know how long it was going to take. It wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. For me in 2019, I was still doing the business. I was having mediocre success. I was still doing it the old fashioned way, the rank then rent. And, but in the back of my mind, it was still, I was kind of like looking for like, if there was a better opportunity, I was ready to jump.
You were a lurker. You were lurking around.
I was a lurker, a dabbler. I was half pregnant,
Peeping
whatever you want
Tom,
to call it.
peeping Nick,
Yeah.
peeping Nick.
Aha. I had the wandering eye. Right. And, finally in 2020, I was like, okay, I've got to take care of my family. I thought I'd be a millionaire at 30 and I'm 29. And anyway, I started writing down, I'm like, okay, I need to make this kind of money. And I realized I had the right business model, like right inside in my hands. I realized that there was a couple of things that I felt like were broken. For example, having to wait 6 months and all that stuff, but I knew the model was right. And I made up my mind and I was like, I'm going to do this mentally. I'm going to do this until it works. Like, I don't care if that's 10 years. I don't care if that's 15 years. I'm done. Basically, I married the model. Done and done. I was no longer dating and I didn't have any side chicks. It was like, I married the model. And as soon as I did that, 8 months later, I was making 100 grand a month. Now, it wasn't overnight. I worked my butt off. I did the pre-selling. I made this mistake and that mistake. But to your point, which I've heard you say a couple times, and I want to make sure everyone understands, is that that's it. As soon as you decide, hey, this is it. This is what I'm going to make work. I imagine Stephanie and Porter if there was either 9 to 5, whatever 9 to 5 you wanted, and then there was this. There was no drop shipping. There was no Etsy shop. There was no FBA. Do you know how many more people would be successful at this because it would be the only option, right? But the
Yeah, you
problem,
want to kick, but yeah, you want to kick your butt in gear, like anytime. Like I'm not. Look, I'm never going back to 9. Like I mean, it's not for me. But once in a blue moon, I have to get in my car and go travel. Like, and then I'm stuck in rush hour traffic, and I'm like, ugh. Like just being stuck in my car, like in that rat race. Whatever you hate about your, like, look, I don't hate Mondays anymore. Like it's been a long time since I hated Mondays. But I mean, no more hating Mondays. No more dealing with some boss who's an idiot that knows less than you. It's like, and no more times are you gonna get told like, oh, by the way, we're gonna have your quarterly review. Look, when
like you're
when
a
I
kid.
like, by the way, like when I got hired for that job that I was doing for that nonprofit, my supervisor that was interviewing me told me 6 months later. So 6 months after I got the job, we were at the Christmas party and she pulled me aside and she's like, Stephanie, I have something to tell you. I'm like, what's that, Christy? She's like, when I was interviewing you, I almost didn't extend you an offer and hire you. And I'm like, why is that? She goes, I was afraid of you. And I'm like, why is that? She's like, because I figured like you'd have my job in 3 months. And I'm like, well, I didn't want your job, but and
Yeah, thanks for the compliment.
so,
But I don't do
like
that.
I was overqualified, and I did have to like I had to downplay it, like because I had a headhunting background, I knew how to like sell myself to get the job, which I did have to downplay it. But from the day I started that job, Nick, I knew I was either going to get fired or I was going to get promoted. And there was actually one job I wanted, and it was going to be online and office based, and they only wanted me in the field, and I was like, not going to happen. So I was like, bye. But
And
yeah, I look like years ago, I used to have this like I was doing like my friends were like, "Oh, you got to do a blog, got to do a blog, got to do Instagram, got to do this, whatever, social media, blah blah blah." And I'm like, okay, mine's called "Be the Driver of Your Own Car." Like, because in my life there have been times where like my sister called me on it, friends have called me on it. They're like, "You're just going about your life." Like, they're like, "When are you gonna have kids?" I'm like, "I don't know when it happens." They're like, "You got to make that decision." Like, look, I mean, this is years ago, but I realized I had like it was a shock of reality. I was literally my life was occurring and life was happening to me rather than me grabbing like the steering wheel of my life and freaking driving my life. I realized I was in the back seat. I realized I needed to get in the freaking front seat and make my own decisions and my own choices. And that's what this business, allows anybody to do, because you can call your own shots. You can make as much money or as little money as you want. You can do it full time. You can do it part time. And look at Ryan Dalton. Like, look, he's killing it. He's still working full time, and and then he ramped up. He developed that whole platform, and he's like he's supercharged. And other people are, I know you have other people who are stay-at-home moms who've been in it and they're doing very well. And then you have the entire continuum. There's no wrong way to do this business model except quitting.
yeah, very true. What I want to ask both of you this. I'll start with Porter and then Stephanie. What is one thing? And I want you to think about the real answer. Don't just give me something that comes. I mean, you can give me something that comes to your head, but try to think about the main thing. But what is the one thing that you can blame on your success? Porter getting to 10-6, Stephanie getting to 8-6. Porter, I'll have you go first. What do you think is the number one thing that you can blame your success on?
Hmm. Hmm.
And by the way, it's okay to pause, because if you've ever seen some of these guys, Elon Musk, wait to give an answer. He has a pause that's awkward enough you almost think there's a glitch on the YouTube video. So take your time. And Stephanie, if you want to go, if you have an answer already, you can go first.
it goes back to what I was mentioning before. It's just, there is no other option. There's no fork in the road. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of how. It's that constant belief. And I'll tell you, it's the, I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna freaking get there. Like, and again, it's like, don't be afraid to try anything. Whatever you need. And I'll tell you, I realized that I have, look, I have some very negative people in my family. They're my parents. And so I had to pull back from spending time with them. And I had to stop talking to people that don't understand the rank and rent business, because it's very easy for them to go, oh, you've been in it for 6 months and you haven't made any money. Oh, you invested how much money? Oh, and you went down to New Orleans? Oh, and you bought how many websites? Oh, like, I mean, I can go on and on and on. I'm like, dude, I don't need more negative Nellies. Like, I don't need that in my life. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, check yourself at the door, so that I just zip my mouth. Like, it's like, if, I mean, I'm a big proponent. I'm a huge follower of Dan Martell. I love Hermosi and I love Dan Martell. I'm telling you, like, if you want to follow too, like, Nick, your stuff's great, but like, these are like generalists, like Hermosi and Martell, fabulous. It's about mindset and about not getting sucked. Like, Martell actually was, he's a Canadian guy, and look him up if you don't know him, but amazing guy. And it was X number of years ago, he started making it big. He wrote a whole bunch of SaaS programs and this and that, started killing it. Like, he was doing stuff in Canada. And then one day he gets a call, and Richard Branson wanted him to come to his villa in Switzerland. And Martell's looking around like, who, me? And next thing you know, Martell goes over to Switzerland with like 9 other guys, and they're hanging out with Sir Richard Branson. And he's having like all this imposter syndrome, feeling like he's not worthy of being there. But I think it goes back to playing up and surrounding yourself with the people. And Porter, you made a great point about that earlier. It's about being around other people who are succeeding. You have to play up in terms of like being around other guys or women that are doing better than you are, and not being around the people who are going to suck you down. It's very easy when someone is at their job and they're sour grapes and they hate their life. It's really easy for them to like poke a hole in what we're doing, even if we have a modicum of success, because it's natural human tendency that they have that it's not that those are bad people. It's just like, when Britney Spears, like, like has problems on the news, or Janet Jackson flashes her boob or whatever, like all of a sudden, like, oh, people love scandal. People in general want to, like, they want to hate on other people because they don't feel good about themselves. And so I had to make sure that I kept all that negative stuff out, and I would listen to YouTube videos every night, just audio. I would stick it underneath my pillow of positive mindset stuff and related to money. So like, you guys can YouTube it. Like, I mean, there's YouTube videos for everything, but it's just audio. It's, it's nothing visual. It's just it's really about the positive, the auto suggestion. And literally whatever you think about will come about. And if you're worried about it's the power of it's the mindset of abundancy versus the mindset of scarcity. And I'll tell you one last thing.
Please.
A year ago, like, after I stopped working at that nonprofit, like, I took like 6 or 9 months off and I wasn't making any money. So like, just for like kicks and giggles, I started selling plasma. And I'd be like in the plasma selling thing, like they're like looking around, like going like I'd be there in the middle of the day and I'm like looking around, and you just tell like these people, like most of these people don't have jobs. And I'm like, and all of a sudden I went one day, I'm like, what, Stephanie? I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Freaking stop selling plasma. Like, you got to get out of this like negative, like you're like a poor broke, person, you sell plasma. And like, could I have used the money? Yeah. Because I was rating my say, like my, we talk about leaky buckets, like my bucket was leaking a lot because I didn't have anything going in the bucket. It was leaking because I was investing in this business. But I said, look, I said, I had to pull the plug. I'm like, because $50 here, $100 there, that was great. But it was conceptually, I needed to stop that negative scarcity mindset and go full in to be around people like you, Porter, and you, Nick, and everybody else in your group, to be like around people and thinking like, I'm going to crush it. They're crushing it. There's no reason I can't.
Yeah. I love that. So Yeah, I agree. Making the decision, there's no other option. It sounds cliche, but it's a huge thing
Burn the bridge. Burn the bridge.
burn the bridge, burn the ship. There, all the different ways of saying it's very, very true. Porter, what about you?
I would say at the beginning, I think when people would post their deals, it would kind of make me mad. I would be like, gosh dang, like this person's landing deals and I've been in this how much longer, or I have more resources. Like it was almost a chip on my shoulder. And I remember one time I was doing some 10K coaching. I remember one guy was like, how is he supposed to, coach me on if he's not even at 10K? And so a part of it was just like proving other people wrong, which is probably the bad way to do it, but just like, hey, I'm from a small town. I'm a farmer. Like I can do just as good as someone that has this much knowledge. So I think a lot of it has to do with like the chip on my shoulder, but I also would say just the people that I'm around. Like I didn't even believe that there was that much money to be made until I was in this group and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm this little fish in this big world and like why shouldn't I work harder? Like if I work harder, I can achieve that." So that's what kind of drove me, and that's what continues to drive me is just seeing other people's success and like, why not me?
Yeah, I love that. It's true, guys. And that's a great thing about this group. There's some really, really successful people in and by the way, that's a great thanks for your answer, Porter. But in this group, not only in the rank and rent, but like one thing I've noticed I really love about this group is everyone's from like comes to this group already being really successful in the thing that they were doing, just knowing or realizing at some point that it's not the avenue and the vehicle they want to use because they want freedom and they want to have, time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. So make sure you guys are, one thing I would say in groups like this, I have my own groups, I've been in groups, but if you will be somebody that's always looking to add value and be a producer, not a consumer, not just one of these leeches, not one of these freaking just try to suck as much information and hide in the shadows, but you're actually out there. If you learn something, you post about it. If you get a win, you post about it. If you get a loss, you post about it. You're making connections, you're involved. Running an online business is very, very lonely at times. And guys, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, I finally made up my mind. I started in these groups and I was very scarcity mentality, like Stephanie was talking about. I didn't want anybody to know who I was. I didn't want anyone to steal my niches. I didn't want anyone, I don't want to be on anyone's radar. And then in 2018, 2019, I started posting, sharing my journey, sharing my wins, sharing my losses. And guys, from these groups, I've made 2 business partnerships. I've made a joint venture I make over $100,000 a year from, and I've made some really, really good friends. So, but just understand, you guys are in a group of people. Like it's like we got in the world and we've attracted all the people into this group, my group, people that want more, highly driven people, people that aren't satisfied with just their everyday life. So really good point there. All right, guys, let's do this as we wrap up. I know we've been going for a while here. Does anybody want to spend just a few minutes, no more than just 5, 6 minutes, if there's any questions? Does anybody have any questions they want to ask Stephanie, Porter, on the topic of pre-selling, getting deals, getting to, but basically a 6-figure per month or 6-figure per year amount, because 8,600, you times that by 12, you're over the 100,000. Porter, the same with you. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? I'll give just like a minute. If nobody does, we'll end the stream. And I have one last question I'm going to ask both of these guys to end. So let me just see before I ask this question if there is anybody with any questions. Okay, so I'll keep my eye on this. Let me ask this question, and then if there's nothing, we'll just end this. So my question for both of you, let's start with Stephanie. Do you think everybody should pre-sell, or is that only for a certain type of person? And if so, who?
I think everybody should pre-sell because look, even if you do organic, you still have to get on the phone with the business owner. I mean,
Okay.
there's no reason not to pre-sell. I mean, you there's really no reason not to pre-sell.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir. You don't got to convince me. That's all.
I mean, unless you you just don't want to help Google or Facebook or any of these large companies, but I mean, there's really no reason not to.
Yeah.
There's a learning, like for those of you who are like there is a learning curve in learning how to run these ads. I mean, it's not a Betty Crocker cook like cake. Like it's not like this little mic box, this little box and you pour water and add, like add 1 egg or whatever. It's not that easy, but Nick has people on staff that walk you through it and help you. And then there's some new tools that are available that make it much easier than back in the Stone Ages when Nick started this and had to do it all by hand. And so it's much easier now. And so, and by the way, like the one thing I was worried about, not that I didn't want to tell my story before when I first started to when to now, but I think it's real common. People are worried that this industry is saturated because they see new people coming online and this and that. Guys, there is so much freaking business out there. Like it's like ridiculous. Like, and even in the most like saturated niches, like I mean, it's there's so much business. I mean, and every day new businesses are opening up, and like, I mean, I shouldn't even say this, but I will. So like, I won't tell you which one it is, but I'm running ads, and I'm in a market and in the same niche that's in one of Nick's trading videos. I'll let you figure it out, Nick. That just shows like that shows, but my point is like that even there, like I knew there's more room. And like, so you don't know, you probably didn't know that because like there's so much room, like there's so much business. Like I'm sure you still have your business owner, and then like I found another business owner, and and so there's just so much room for opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's funny because as I started training this and started talking about it, I've actually seen that happen more than once. I'll be looking at rankings or whatever. I'm like, oh, there's somebody that's coming in. And by the way, it doesn't make me mad zero because I'm like, hey, I can work with the business owner, you can work with the business owner, and everybody can win because as long as we're kicking out all the other guys, then it doesn't matter. So, okay, Porter, what about you? Do you don't have to agree or disagree, but do you think everybody should pre-sell?
I think so, and I do think that Shiv always uses this, but like it's just another tool that you can use. I think the best thing about this is no matter what you go into and you're doing your due diligence, you could look at two options. You either pre-sell, which could be your first option, and then if it's too competitive to run ads, you could organically rank and have those going. So I just love the fact that like you can be doing both. There's a happy medium to both of these, but like as far as like personalities for pre-selling, I think anyone can do that. It doesn't matter where you come from. It just if there's a process in place, I mean, like I said, the way that you present it, you're basically selling it before you're actually selling it. So I think it's a lot more about the setup than as you mentioned the sell.
Yeah. I think it's like this, guys. I think that even if you are having a strictly organic strategy, you should have one or two projects. You should be trying to get a deal at all times, running some simple ads that can speed it up. There's no reason. You could have 90% of your strategy being organic, but there's no reason you shouldn't be running ads and getting deals up front. It's okay.
Yeah, it diversifies your portfolio.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing I would just really quick mention, and then we'll wrap this up, is I give this strategy. I talk about ads. I talk about, hey, we're going to run ads up front to a landing page. But you have to understand that you got to pay the piper, or you got to pay somebody that's paid the piper, because like I'll give you this really quick example. I jumped on the phone with somebody. This is not from this group, by the way. Jumped on the phone with somebody with Kyle about 3 weeks ago. And this person was interested. They're in another group, not this one. Okay. They're not having the success that they want. It's not going fast enough, whatever. They want to run ads, blah, blah, blah. They don't know how to run ads. And they're like, let me get on. So they get on, they look at what it's like to work with me and what that looks like as far as a commitment and stuff. And anyway, long story short, they don't end up coming into the group. And I got a text today from this person and said, hey, just want to say I appreciate you. You give so much value in your YouTube videos, blah, blah, blah. I actually feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. I went and bought a Udemy course on ads, and I think I think I'm going to be good. And I just took my phone.
Good on you. Good going.
Yeah, I just took my phone and I was like, hey, I don't want this to come across wrong. I did a voice note. I said, you're trying to do a shortcut here, bro. If the person if the person actually spent $1.5 million on ads like I did, and they actually know what they're doing, they wouldn't be selling a Udemy course for 15 bucks. I'm just telling you that right now. So you could keep going down the path. I've seen it 100 times. You can go spin up some ads, waste a couple $1,000, 3 months of your life, and we'll have the same conversation, or I can help you right now. So I say that because I love when people take action. I love when people get going, but realize that you either have to learn it over the course of 4 years and $1.5 million, or you have to take it and you have to learn it from somebody that's done it. And I promise you, there's a lot of sharks out there. There's a lot of wolf in sheep's clothing, as they say in the Bible. And there's a lot of people that I know and you guys know personally that are teaching this that aren't making jack shit on their own agency or never have. So the first thing, if you want to go to any training, I would go ahead and ask them, what have you made? Can you show me your Stripe account and tax returns? And what are you making right now? Because I promise you it's going to eliminate 99.9% of people. Okay. That said, guys, I don't see any
Oh,
questions.
I want to clarify one thing.
Please.
I just want to say that. So even though I said that I'm in one of your own markets, I do want to clarify because I just realized in that market, I'm running Facebook ads. So like I'm swimming in a different pond. So I
And
just,
even if you were running Google ads, Stephanie, I don't.
yeah, but no, but I just like, that's the other thing. I just want to show like there's so many different ways you can slice
Yeah.
and dice, so many different permutations and everything like that. Like, yeah. So I mean, there's so much business out there. So
Yeah, I have no worries at all. So
you gotta DM me and see if you can guess what market it is.
okay, I'll take it. DM me and they're like, hey, guess, and I'll shoot a guess. I think
All
I
right.
think I have a good guess because I've seen two different ones, so I'll guess.
Really?
Yeah, but maybe they're not both yours. Obviously, just one of them. But anyway, guys, appreciate you being on. Appreciate Stephanie. Appreciate Porter.